today's Scaling with People podcast. I'm Guinevere Curry, your host and founder and CEO to Guide to HR. So, what separates a struggling business from a thriving one? Is it the product, the marketing, the team, or is it something different, a formula for lasting success? Today, we're going to be diving into 7 essential parts of every thriving business, the building blocks that keep the most successful companies running like a well-oiled machine. Whether you're a startup founder, a seasoned entrepreneur, or dreaming of launching your own thing, this episode is packed with insights you need to grow and thrive. And that's when I'm so excited to announce I have James Brown on the call with me today to help us get through these 7 essentials. So James, please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you so much, Guinevere. I'm glad to be here. So my name is James Brown. I'm a retired attorney. I've been building businesses for over 30 years. Had a very unorthodox path to becoming a lawyer. I had to fight my way to get to a successful business owner and started my firm right out of law school and eventually built it to $8 million a year. We had
Wow.
offices in 4 different states. I didn't have any partners, and it was just me and my wife when we got started. Um, and so when I first started looking at the business at that point, I'm 28 years old, and I'm like, oh, it just is all jumbled together. I just need to get more, right? I just want more, all right? Well, I didn't think about how this part of the business affects this part or how everything relates together. And so I started looking at it. And one of the things that I had an epiphany on was that every business has the same 7 working parts. And if you really step back and look at it, the only thing that's different is what we sell. So you have marketing, you have sales, you've got your factory to produce whatever it is you're selling, you've got your people to run the factory, you've got your physical plant, whether that's virtual or brick and mortar, you've got your money and metrics, and then the last part is you, the business owner.
Mm.
So the only thing out of those 7 that's different is what we sell. I sold legal services. A client of mine sells hard cider.
Ooh.
Another client sells dental services, right? But all the 7 parts are the same. And so when I started my business, I had no clue about that. And so I knew I loved, once that epiphany happened, I was able to piece together a business plan that covers all 7 parts of the business and really gave me a roadmap of where I wanted to go. Right. And so that's the first place I ever start with business owners is what is your roadmap? Where are you wanting to go? And what I hear a lot of is, oh, I just want more. More
Mhm.
what? Right? More revenue? Okay, how much more revenue? How do you
Mhm.
know how much more revenue if you don't know how much you personally want to make next year? Right? So we go
Mhm.
through all of that. Um, One of the things, and since 2000, I sold my firm in 2014. I knew that practicing law was just my vehicle. I love building businesses, so I sold it to start working with small business owners, startups, to help them scale the business profitably and predictably. And since 2018, I've worked with over 450 business owners across different industries, um, 0 startup businesses, all the way up to $50 million a year businesses. And I see that same 7 parts, right? So one of the first things I want to do is you got to start with you, the business owner. That's the part we start with. And we think, okay, how much do I want to make next year out of this business? If I have the life that I want to live, not what do I need, the minimum I need, but what do I need to live the life I want to live? Maybe it's I want a beach house in Florida. Maybe I want a vacation 4 times a year. Maybe I want to only work 3 days a week. Whatever that is, now we figure out how much it's going to cost you.
Mhm.
Once you know how much it's going to cost you, let's say that it's going to cost me $500,000 to live that life next year. How much does my business need to generate in gross revenue for me to be able to take that money out?
Yeah.
Right. So my business has a 35% margin, net margin. So if I take 500,000 and I divide it by 0.33, I'm just going to use 33 because it's easy, a third. That means my gross revenue for the business needs to be 1.5 million, right? I now
Yeah.
have my goal revenue for next year for the business. So now, how many sales do I need? Well, what's your average sale value? My average sale value is $5,000. So that means I need 300 sales next year. I'm working on the sales part of my business.
Mhm.
Once I know the number of sales, I can reverse engineer by knowing my conversion rates. How many sales appointments do I have to get 300 sales? I close 73% of the people I talk to, so I need 400 sales conversations. And then 82% of our sales conversations would actually show up for the appointment. So I need 480 or whatever set appointments. And then 90% of our leads set appointments. So I need 560 leads. I've now told my marketing team exactly how many leads to get. Now we
Yeah.
figure out what channels they're going to come from and we create hypothesis. Okay. Now here's the next thing. What if I'm really successful at that? I've got my goal section, which is the you section. I've got my sales section done. I've got my marketing section. Now, what if that means I'm tripling the number of sales I'm doing next year? Who's going to do the work?
Yeah.
What systems and procedures are going to break in my factory that I need to upgrade to handle 300 sales? And what people do I need to plug into the systems? If I'm a dentist, do I need another dental hygienist or do I need another full-time dentist? Right. And that's the people section of the plan. Then if I add people, do I have enough physical space to do that? Or do I need to get another physical space? Can I do a hybrid where some people are virtual and some people are in person? And then as I continue to scale, what metrics or money or financials do I need in place so that I can manage my business by the data and not on emotion? It's one of the things that I did in my business and I see with so many business owners is we make decisions based on emotion and it gets us
Mhm.
in trouble, right? I'll give you a quick example. I had a lawyer that worked for me and he was behind in his work all the time. And I went in there and I said, "Hey, Joe, why are you behind?" He said, "I'm on the phone constantly, incoming and outgoing calls." I walked out of his office. I went to my office manager and I said, "Let's put an ad out for another attorney." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because Joe, he's gets so many phone calls, he can't get to his work." And she just stopped and she said, "Did you look at the phone records?" And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Don't you think you should have?" And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yes." So we pulled the phone records, right? Um, the prior day, he was on the phone, incoming and outgoing for 4 minutes and 32 seconds.
The whole day?
The whole day.
That's not
The
the whole,
next,
okay, so that means he's not
right,
on the calls all day
right.
long.
The next day was like under 6 minutes. So I'm like, go in there and I ask him what's really going on because now the data tells me you're full of
Mm-hmm.
crap, basically.
Yeah.
And so I found out that, kid you not, he doesn't know how to navigate the computer. He didn't know how to get around. He didn't know how to do anything. And that's not going to work for me. But the moral of that story is I almost spent another $75,000 a year on another attorney when I
Mm-hmm.
didn't look at the data. I was making an emotional decision.
Yeah.
So having the right KPIs and the metrics and making decisions on data is the money metrics part of the business.
Absolutely. And it helps you understand when you need to do a deeper dive of root cause, which is what you just did. Tell me, you're not on the call. What's really going on?
Right. Right. And that's how you quickly like your payroll ratio gets out of whack,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about every dollar that comes in, there's a rule of thirds I learned in business school. A third of that money goes to labor cost, a third goes to your other overhead, and then the third is your profit,
Hopefully.
theoretically, right? When you start making emotional decisions in your business and you start hiring because people are saying they're overwhelmed and you panic hire, your payroll ratio goes up and your profits go down. I had somebody that just hired me and his payroll ratio is 79% of revenue
Oof.
and his other overhead is 47%. Well, if you add the two together, it's
Oh,
126%. And
hello, negative.
he's wondering why he's dumping money in every month,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Because he way overhired for what he needed. So get if I had to give everybody one tip, manage your business on data, start looking at data, get away from making emotional decisions in your business.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But the best way to do this is develop a business plan that addresses all the seven parts. If I'm going to make this much money, I got to gross this. I need this many sales. I need this many leads. Here's how we're going to get them. If I get those, then I need to fix these systems and I need to hire these people in Q2 or Q3. And it's a cohesive plan. Now you have a hypothesis basically. And then as the business, like right now, we're at the end of Q1.
I
Every
know. Can you
business,
believe it? That's
right? I
crazy.
know. Every business that I'm working with, I'm reviewing their business plan. Where are we at in relation to our plan? Are we ahead of schedule or are we behind schedule? And then we're making adjustments. A lot of people will make that business plan, they just throw it in a drawer. No,
Yeah.
keep it out, measure it
Yeah.
every month, know where you're at, and make adjustments. And that's how you thrive. On average, the people I'll work with grow about 35 to 40% a year. And they maintain that profitability, right,
That's
throughout the
great.
whole thing. And that's by managing the ratios in your business.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you're keeping your eye on your end goal. You don't have that
Yes,
end goal. You don't have that roadmap as you talked about, and you're all just all over the place and you're just lost in the forest and
right.
you're never going to find your way.
Well, I call that, when you talk about being in the weeds, right?
Yeah.
You're going 100 miles an hour and the weeds are smacking you in the face and you can't see anything else. So you're just making reactionary
And there goes the
decisions,
cliff and you fall
right?
right off of it.
And so the first thing that you have to do is start removing yourself as the owner from working in the business and start working on it. So if I hire somebody to do this, I can now raise a little bit above the weeds and I can start seeing a little bit further. And then I hire my next key person, and now I'm at the 10,000 foot view and I can start seeing a lot, right? But as long as you're
Yeah.
stuck in the weeds, you're going to be on this hamster wheel of not going anywhere.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So I gotta ask, as a fellow founder, would you be would you mind being vulnerable and sharing a time when you did something and it didn't turn out the way you had hoped? And basically, if you could go back in time and tell that younger self, don't do that, or make a different decision, or go left instead of right,
Yes.
what's a lesson learned from you as a founder to all the other founders listening?
I think the biggest lesson that I learned in business is to be different. If you really want to stand out, be different. A great example was I belong to a mastermind group similar to what you were mentioning was Vistage.
Mhm.
I run some mastermind groups now, but I was in this mastermind group and these guys were talking about how they were doing radio and it was killing it for them. They were getting clients left and right. I'm like, what radio? Right. And they're like, talk radio, sports radio. And I'm like, writing it down. And so I come back to St. Louis and I threw $20,000 at radio and got nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm like, what the heck? Right.
Yeah.
And so what I call that is throwing money at something and seeing if it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My biggest lesson was that's just gambling. Right. Don't do
Not
that.
fun gambling either, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so radio works. So I started asking my clients, I'm like, do you listen to the radio? And they're like, yeah, we listen to it all the time. Okay, what stations do you listen to? And they're like, this jazz station, Jazz 101 and Magic 108. Jazz 101, Magic 108 kept coming up over and over and over. So I took that same amount of money and put it in those two stations, and the phone wouldn't quit ringing.
Wow. It's
And the
knowing
biggest,
who your target audience is and where they are.
and where they get their information from,
Hmm.
right? So if I know who my target avatar is, I always want to know where they get their information from. For example, there's businesses whose target audience might be the older generation. I'm 59, so I'm not quite there yet. But like my dad is not on Facebook, he's not on TikTok, he's not on anything like that, right? I'm on those, but I'm not on Instagram,
Yeah.
right? So knowing where your avatar gets their information from informs you of where you should use market, what marketing channels to use. And now you've tilted the odds in your favor and you'll likely have success in your marketing. So that was one of my biggest aha moments was know where they get their information from and don't make just blind decisions. I call it chasing a shiny object, right? Oh, I got to do that because it worked for them,
Yeah.
right? The other thing was being different.
Yeah.
You know, one of the interesting things about the human buying process is when we as a human being have a problem, we're constantly thinking about it. The
Mm.
brain is designed to protect the body and to find solutions, and it's actually working 24/7. And so sometimes you'll sit up in the middle of the night and you think about something, or all of a sudden an idea pops in your head, right? And that's what the old saying comes is what's keeping you up at night.
Yeah.
So when the brain's always looking for a solution, now we go on the internet and we type in a search and thousands of options come up, right? I was looking for a an outdoor TV. I built a gazebo out here, and in St. Louis, it gets cold in the winter, so I need a TV that's not going to go kaput when it gets cold. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
sitting out there when it's cold, but it's got to survive, right?
Yeah, you don't want to take it
So
off the wall
yeah,
every summer or winter, excuse
so
me.
so there's a thousand options, and if you would have crossed out LG and Panasonic and Samsung, I can't tell them apart. So
Yeah.
what happens? The brain gets confused, doesn't know what to do, and so we resort to lowest price,
Oh, yeah.
right? So now, if businesses are getting price shoppers, it's because your customers can't tell you apart from anybody else.
Mm.
So the first way to get over price shoppers is to make your marketing messages stand out. I was in Miami a few years ago and I did a search for divorce lawyer, and the top PPC ad said top rated Miami divorce lawyer. The second one said AV rated family law lawyer. And the third one said, is he sleeping with her right now? And it was a firm that only represented women in divorce. And I
Wow.
guarantee you that ad was killing it compared to the
Yeah.
rest of them,
Yeah,
right? It
for
stood
sure.
out over everybody else.
Hmm.
And so that's if you really like change your mindset that I want to be different. I want to do things different and don't just follow everybody else and what they're doing. You will dominate your market, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such great advice. Well, I feel like there's so many more things that I want to ask you, but time is of the essence, and I'd love to ask you, what is your last thought or tip or trick or tool that you'd like to share with the audience today?
I think the biggest tip for me is I find that most people think too small, right?
Yeah.
Think bigger. Um,
Why do you think
you
that
know,
is?
I think we doubt our capabilities.
Mm,
I think from a mindset perspective, we're conditioned to think certain things, and it's based on how we grew up and what we had and what can we accomplish. If you truly believe you can accomplish things, it will come your way. Your brain again is working on it,
yeah.
right? My first year in business with this Business Accelerator Institute, we did almost $1 million, about 850,000. This year, my goal is 3 million. It's pretty clear what I need to do to get there. Next year, I told my wife my goal is 15 million, and she just looked at me and she's like, "How are you going to do it?" I said, "I don't know yet,
Yeah.
but I know I'm going to do it." And I'm
Yeah.
going to keep thinking about it. Now things are starting to fall in place, right? But I had to think bigger.
Isn't that
And
the
it's,
eye on the prize statement, right? You have your eye on the prize and you'll figure out how to get there because you want that prize.
yeah. And a lot of
Yeah.
times the reason people won't think bigger is they're afraid of failure.
Mm.
But here's what, look, I'm making this business makes $850,000. If I completely swung and missed and failed and this business went under, I've already made an $8 million business. I could create another one. I've already
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah.
Right. So think about that because your mind can repeat it.
Yeah.
But I look at everything as I don't put a label on it. It's not good or bad. It doesn't suck and it's not great. It's just is. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that frees you up to be able to see opportunities to change it. If I have $1,000 in my payroll in my bank account, my payroll due in 3 days, and it's 15,000, I could go, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible," or I can just say, "Okay, now what are we going to do? How are we going to get it?" And it frees you up. So when you start labeling things, it restricts you from seeing opportunities.
Well, James, you've brought in a lot of great insight for the audience and even for myself. How can they find you? And is there anything you'd like to share about your business and what they might be able to accomplish with some of the links you're going to provide us?
Yes, certainly. So one of the things I do is for all of your listeners, I'm giving away a free book. It's called Top 10 Mistakes That Will Destroy Your Business. And it's
Ooh,
really just practical advice. I also do a free 30-minute discovery call for any business, right? Just there'll be a
very
calendar link. You
generous.
can book a call, and then I can figure out what's going on in your business and try to give you a quick fix to get out of that. So, where they can find more information, you can go to a website. It's businessaccelerator.institute/scaling people.
Okay. Love
All
it.
right.
Thank you
And
so
that's,
much, James.
you are welcome, Guinevere.
Really wise words there, wisdom to share. And thank you for sharing your own lesson learned. And for those listening, I hope you got a lot out of this. I know I did. And I'm sure that we're going to be inviting James back for some other topics in the future. So thank you, James, for joining us today. And thank you, audience, for listening. We will catch you on the next podcast.
All right. Thank you so much, Guinevere, for having me.